Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us Team Mosso at the1916company.com. It is in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Email us directly, tmosso at the1916company.com for pricing. Today we're discussing a spectacular and exceptional and very rare Laurent Ferrier Classic Micro-Rotor in white gold with azure blue dial. A timepiece that is 40 millimeters in diameter in white gold. You can see in profile 11.5 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip 47.5 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw the watch on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and this is the watch that used to be known as the Gallet Micro-Rotor. It still has that lovely smooth Gallet weathered pebble design, and it fits beautifully on a wrist of 16 centimeters circumference. I could recommend it for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. And though it's not ultra thin, the generously sloped case flank will slip underneath a dress cuff. The azure dial is an unusual application by Laurent Ferrier, and the watch, if not verifiably unique, is highly unusual. You could see a matching strap here. It is a Ferrier factory strap because the bottom is made of Alcantara. The synthetic suede material is used on the touch points of race cars, high-performance road vehicles, and sometimes on ultra-luxury cars. You'll find it specified as a upscale, sometimes even optional headliner over and above leather. So this is a very long-lasting and expensive synthetic suede that recalls Laurent Ferrier, the man's history as both watchmaker and race car driver. The strap is azure to match the dial itself. It's a matte finish with medium and small rectangular scale alligator leather, unusual scale patterns, to be sure. We don't see them often, and it has a monotone stitch with a folded edge, and you can see it has a little bit of bolstering to add some volume. The buckle is just as fluid in form as the case itself, and you can see on the bottom, Laurent Ferrier branded. It is made of white gold, and it is polished on its top, satinated on its underside. The case is all polished. You can see that there are some soft creases in the profile. Nothing too sharp. Again, Gallet pebble, smoothed in a stream over ages. That is what this shape is supposed to evoke. Laurent Ferrier is a classicist, which is why the crown pays tribute to the older wristwatches and pocket watches he would have serviced during his day as a service and restoration technician. The lack of branding is another vintage element. You can see that the crown is slightly countersunk into the case band, so it doesn't stick out too far. Now on the dial, we have a beautiful matte blue that is non-reflected azure. The closer you get, the more you realize it has a very fine granular surfacing. Now, it also appears that these might be transferred indices, or they might be base metal that has been painted, or perhaps something non-precious that has been varnished. Well, they are all gold. All of the hands are white gold. The indices are white gold. They have been painted with a white matte varnish to contrast beautifully, just as you would see, for instance, in the Mediterranean or the Persian Gulf, the contrast of white sands and azure blue water. A beautiful watch on every front, and again, they're not shorting you the precious metal on this dial. It's just been cloaked in white. Also, easy to recognize little dot indices for the minutes. Flip it over, we have the now legendary FBN 229 movement, a collaboration between Laurent Ferrier, Christian Ferrier, his son, and Barbacini and Navas of La Fabrique du Temple Louis Vuitton. You could see FBN giving credit to all of the parents, and Fabrique du Temple was involved in the computer design and simulations, the fundamental engineering, as well as the manufacturing of the basic parts, which are then finished in-house at Laurent Ferrier, assembled and regulated. It's an impressive movement. We have a 22 karat gold engine-turned winding rotor with a micro ratchet system and a jeweled staff, meaning this is the most silent winding system I have ever encountered. 72 hours of power reserve, 3 hertz beat rate, 35 pivot jewels. We've got a double direct impulse escape, and you can actually see one of the 2 nickel phosphorus escape wheels. Very similar in appearance and function to Breguet's 1802 natural escapement. There is no Swiss lever in this escapement system, because the wheels, both of them, only impulse the balance roller jewel tangentially and only in the balance's direction of travel at the moment. There's much less friction, which allows the single barrel to give you 3 days of reserve. It also improves the intervals between servicing and improves chronometry by reducing friction overall. There is a silicon blocker that locks the wheel that is not currently impulsing the balance. And the balance, you can see it's free sprung, adjusted in 6 positions, one more than a standard chronometer, and it has an overcoil, so in any position, the relatively centered mass of an overcoil means the watch will keep very consistent time in any position. All of this with a snapback case back, so 30 meters water resistant, don't take it swimming. The finishing is surpassing near Romain Gaultier levels, and I mean traditional pre-sports watch Romain Gaultier. We'll start with the bridge for the rotor. You can see it's been mirror polished across its top, likely with diamond paste or lapping paper. And then you can see it's been beveled on its sides. You can even see that little peripheral zones like the bridges adjacent to the bridge for the winding rotor, see how those have been beveled even though they're closely spaced with the bridge of the rotor? That kind of attention to detail is rare. You can also see all of the jewel sinks have been internally beveled. The beveling on the bridges is beautifully broad, mirrored, and authentically hand-laid. You can also see there's a sharp interior angle over the center wheel. The wheels do actually feature a reasonable amount of internal beveling, which is a very rare thing. There's high-grade, tightly spaced engine turning or pegwood perlage on the base plate. The stripes are exceptionally broad and luminous. You'll appreciate that there are several interior angles. We've got 1, we've got 2, we've got 3, we've got 4, and then we have this skeletonized and fully mirror-polished half bridge for the balance. You can see how they drew 4 sharp interior creases inside it. This is where a lot of high-end brands wouldn't even bother to use one. And yes, there are Geneva hallmark movements kicking around, many of them, that don't have a single interior crease where bevels meet. This is a beautiful watch from an underappreciated brand. Reach out if you love this watch to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.